Welcome to your first lesson in Chapter 5, Lesson 5-2. I can write percents as fractions and decimals and vice versa, meaning you can go from any form of a number into another way because fractions, decimals, and percents are all different ways to represent a part of a whole. You're going to hear me say that a lot. We're representing parts of wholes. So make sure that you have a good idea of what percents are. Percent is per 100. A fraction is a number with a numerator over a denominator. This would be the part. The denominator represents the whole. And decimals are the same thing with place values of tenths, hundredths, and so on. So again, fractions, percents, and decimals are all different ways to represent the same ratio. Okay, so again, a comparison of two numbers is what we're looking at. Part of a whole. Sometimes that part is more than one or less than one. So for example, we can show the same thing here. This is 45 out of 100, which is read the same as 45 hundredths. Notice how it ends in the hundredths place. Since it's 45 out of 100, or 45 per 100, that's the same as 45%. So all of these are the same thing. They are different ways to represent the same ratio. Again, remember, percent means per 100, per cent, or 100 cents in $1. So to write a percent to a decimal, this is definitely something you're going to want to write down. To write a percent to a decimal, you are going to just simply divide by 100 and remove the percent symbol. So notice that right now this is 45%. Our decimal would be behind the 5. When you divide by 10, it's moving one place. So dividing by 100 is moving the decimal 2 places to the left, and you end up at 45 hundredths. Decimal to a percent then, since the decimal's here and the percent is per 100, we're just going to multiply by 100 and then add on the percent symbol. So we go times 10, which is times 100, which gives us 45%. Why don't you give some of these a try? We're going to try to write percent as a decimal. So again, we have 35%, and we are wanting to divide by 100 because we're trying to get to a decimal. So our decimal's here. It's the same as 35.0%. We're going to take our decimal, divide by 100 is 1, 2. So we're left with 0.35 or 35 hundredths as a decimal since we remove our percent symbol. Here we have 115%. I'm going to take this decimal and we're going to divide this by 100. So that's 1, 2. Notice how 115%, yeah, that's more than 1. So we're at 1 and 15 hundredths after we remove the decimal symbol. Because more than 100% would be more than 1, so it makes sense that 115% is slightly more than 1. Give some of these a try. I'm going to kind of fly through them. So again, it just means to divide by 100. You would always rewrite it on your notebook paper. Move the decimal 2 places to the left. 27 hundredths. Get rid of the percent sign. Decimals at the end of the number. Move it 2 to the left, dividing by 100. So we have 1 and 45 hundredths. Remembering that these are equivalent to each other. And then last one, notice how our decimal isn't at the end of the number this time. Still have to move it, divide by 10, and then 100. So we'd fill in with zeros, make it 0.002, get rid of our percent symbol. That is 2 thousandths is equal to 2/10 of a percent. decimals as percents. So now we're going to go in the other direction, which means we're going to multiply by 100. So we're going to take our decimal, and we're going to multiply it by 100. So we're going to move 2 to the right, and then fill in with zeros. So we get 0.2. Well, nope, our decimal's gone. Don't want to write 2 decimals in a number, and I've seen that many times before. So that's gone now, and we ended here. We're at 20. Add on the percent sign. So 20% is the same as 2/10. Because we know this is actually the same as 20 hundredths as well. Here we're going to multiply by 100. Move once, move twice to the right. So then we get 166. We add the percent sign. So something over 1.66, something over 1 is over 100%. Try these ones. Again, it's just multiplying by 100, which means 2 to the right, and add the percent sign. 1, 2. So that means my decimal's now at the end of the 3. Put my percent there. 1, 2. So my decimal's between my 6 and 4. 1, 7, 6, and 4/10 of a percent. 1, 2. So now my decimal's between 0 and 5. I need to keep my 0, decimal 5, add the percent sign. All right, so fractions as percents. So here, remember that percent is per 100, or a number out of 100. So we're going to write 3/8 as a percent. 2 methods. Method 1 is use a proportion. And we learned about this in chapter 4. So this is saying 3/8 is equal to how many out of 100? So then we would use our cross products to get 300 is equal to 8x. Then we would divide by 8 to get x alone. And we find out that x is equal to 37.5. Since it's a percent, we would make sure we have the percent sign on the end. Another way is you could write as a decimal and then do what we just did on the previous page. So write as a decimal, which is really just dividing the numerator by the denominator. And we get 0.375. To change that decimal to a percent, we move it 2 places to the right, multiply by 100, and then we are at 37.5% again. So we can conclude that 3/8 is equal to 37.5 out of 100, which is the same as 37.5%. Couple options, pick what works for you. So if I write 2/3 as a percent, as a decimal, and I got this by doing 2 divided by 3, 3 goes into 2 0 times, but it goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18, with 2 remaining, and we're going to keep bringing down zeros, but notice we're going to keep trying to go into 20. We're always going to have a remainder of 2. So that means we have 6. Remember that bar notation means repeating. So to get this decimal to a percent, we have to multiply by 100. So we went 1, 2 in, and we were at 66 and 6/10% repeating. So usually in real world situations, you're going to round your percents. So if you round, the 6 will round the 6 to a 7, depending on where they're asking you to round it to. So keep that in mind and give some of these a try. So in option G here, again, you can do a proportion. So you could set this equal to how much out of 100. Or you could divide, which is set up as 7 divided by 25. Those are some options. I'm going to show you another strategy for this, though. Since I know percents are out of 100, I know that I can get this number to 100 by multiplying by 4. So then since they're supposed to be equivalent, I can multiply the top by 4. 7 times 4 would be 28. So then I see that it's actually 28 hundredths, which is the same as 28%. So if your denominator can be multiplied to 100 then or 10, then that can help you go a little bit quicker to your percent. Here I can set it again as a proportion. And I'll try that way. Do this method this time. Then I do 3 times 100, which is 300, is equal to 16 times x. Then I'm going to solve for x by dividing by 16. And when I do that, I get x is equal to 18 75 hundredths. And now I need to remember, though, to add my percent on because it's per 100. So 18 75 hundredths percent. For 1/9, I can divide, or I could use the proportion. So I'm going to do 1 divided by 9. Fill in my decimal and a 0. Put my decimal up top. 9 doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 10 once. 1 times 9 is 9. With 1 remaining, you're going to see a pattern. Bring down a 0. 9 still goes into 10 just once. With 1 remaining. And so you're going to see that this is actually the same as 0.111 repeating. Now that I have that decimal, I need to multiply by 100. So this is equivalent to 111 and 1/10 repeating percent. Real life situation would be just rounded to 11%. All right, so just some comparing numbers for a real world example. In a recent survey, 6/10, remember that's the same as 6 out of 10, read as a decimal. People said that they will use their tax refund to pay bills. 7% said they will just spend it. Do more people pay bills or spend their refund? So again, 7%, that's 7 out of 100. So I naturally changed mine to fractions. Otherwise, you could change it to a percent right away. Since 6/10 is the same as move it twice, 60%. 60% is more than 7%. So more people plan on using their taxes to pay bills than just for spending. So just being able to convert and compare. So in a survey, 14% of students said they would travel over spring break. 3 out of 25 said they'd watch videos. Is a bigger part of students traveling or watching videos? So looks like in this case we decided to set up a proportion, or multiplying by 4 to get to 100. So 3/25 is the same as 12%. Well, 12% is less than the 14%. So that means more students are traveling because 14% is more. You're also going to be asked to order them, least to greatest. So again, it's just deciding how you want to convert them. You can change them to whatever's easiest. So some people will change them to percents, some will change to fractions, and some will use decimals. In this case here, trying to do 30%, 3/100ths, 7/20ths, and 33/100ths, least to greatest. Make sure you read the directions. Looks like we're going to change these to percents. 3/100ths per 100 is percent, so that's 3%. Change this by multiplying each by 5 to get per 100, so that's 35%. Multiplied by 100 to see 33%. So least to greatest, the percents are in this order, but when you do your answer, you want to write them as the original numbers. So you just have to remember which is equal to which, and then order them as they were originally given to you. That's very important that you do that. All right, so order these least to greatest. So you could change them to percents or to decimals. So in this case, we went with 22%, 1/10, 3/25ths, and 25/100ths, all to percents. So then just looking at those, I see 10% is the lowest, so I put 1/10 there. Then 12%, then 22, then 25. That's the order. All right, so a lot of different ways to practice. Try the method that works best for you, but remember, fractions, decimals, and percents are all different ways to write the same number representing a part of a whole. See you soon.